This is Carl Baker. I happen to be Ken's brother, older brother, and it's kind of exciting. For the last 20 years, I've heard about him writing books, and I've read some of his children's books, but I know that he's always had in his mind something that was more of a novel sized in the fantasy, I don't know, young adult fantasy or whatever. I know wasn't sure what the category was, but I knew that he was interested. And so when I started reading the book, I got a preliminary copy. At first you think, oh, don't expect too much, because I've been reading a lot of books in that genre, like Brandon Sanderson and Jeff Wheeler, other authors. And I guess what surprised me was the book was on a caliber with what I'd read from well-known authors. One of the things I liked about this that I thought was unique in a lot of ways was that the story was told in first person, but from the viewpoints of various main characters in the book. And it was always interesting, it might take a sentence to figure out, okay, who's talking now? But pretty soon it became evident and you could get different people's viewpoint of the same event. One of the things I liked about just the writing style was the language, the description of sights and sounds and smells. I guess any good author has to master that to some extent, but I really, really thought that was well done. One thing about the book was that the further I got into it, the more I asked myself, how is this going to end well for the main characters? Because there were so many, it just seemed like there was going to be a crash landing of some sort when I got to the end. In my mind, there were probably four protagonists named Leanne and Kai and Wei and Maylin. I don't know if I said any of those right, but it was just really interesting to follow each one of their storylines. Another thing about the book that I enjoyed was, I know in other books I've read, I've seen the same sort of thing, but each chapter started with a saying or a poem or just something like the writings from such and such. And some of them I didn't understand because I'm not really good at poetry, but others just like from journal entries of different people. It was really nice to just hearing pithy little quotes that sometimes had a little foreshadowing and maybe they didn't. At any rate, my finishing the book was recent. I finished it within the day. And so a lot of it is fresh in my mind. And I just really liked how the book wrapped itself up. And even though there were some fantastical things, they were either fun or you could suspend belief enough to enjoy the journey. And that's what I enjoyed was I felt like I was there with the main characters. And I was really happy that things turned out. And like I said, I didn't see how they could, but I guess Ken must have been thinking about that from the beginning of the book because he's tied it up all the loose ends very nicely. So that's my first take.
So you've read a lot of fantasy. What would you say to other fantasy readers about, young or old, why they should read Heaven's Warrior?
One of the things most of the warriors, even the ones that I thought were exceptional writers, the story got repetitive after 5 or 6 or 10 books. And if nothing else, this is a fresh new style. It wasn't copycat of anybody else. And so I just enjoyed seeing another way to tell a story and to tell it well. I guess what I am saying is this was fresh. It was well done. And for that, I was grateful to have been able to read it.
Thank you so much, Carl. I really appreciate that.
You
Thank
bet.